Hi everyone. Today I'm going to teach you how to set up the scope inside the Dhcp server. So please go Access Tools, the Dhcp app. This we installed last class. I don't know if you remember or if you didn't watch yet. So go back to the channel or go to the Blackboard and please watch the last video when we installed the PBS C01 Dhcp server. Okay, everything's running. I showed you last class how to see this in case the green means this is running and everything is correct. So we have here two versions, IPv4 and IPv6. So let's open something important here. Let's plan our network. Let's open the WordPad. So let's say I have 100 computers in my company and I want to distribute these 100 IPs through the network. So what I'm going to do is the DHCP server, actually the client is going to request a new address and the DHCP is going to deliver this address. So it's going to lease an IP to this machine for a while. So we have a timestamp. Okay, so let's say I have 100 computers. So my network is going to have 100 computers, workstations. Okay, and so in this case, my server is we're planning already the server, the Active Directory. So we have a domain controller actually. Our domain controller is 192.168.0.10. So this is a class C IP address with the mask 255.255.255.0, right? So this has to be the same because if they're the same network, we're going to create a network in the same range. So if I need 100 workstations, if I need to create a scope, in this case a DHCP server, they create scopes. So I'm going to create a scope. It can be, let's say, scope 0. And this scope 0 is going to have 100 workstations, okay? So we're going to define the same network ID. So again, this is my network ID, okay? A little bit slow because of the virtual machine, but that's fine. So it's going to be the same network ID, 192.168.0. And then we have the range. In this case, I told you about, we have the first 10 IPs from this range reserved from our servers. Let's say I have a Squid server, I can have a DNS server, I can have a firewall, I can have other machines. So 10 is enough. So in this case, my range is going to be, we can set up for 100 to 200, but there's no problem for me also to start from 11, let's say 11 to 110, okay? But in this case, let's say I need more servers in my network, so then I don't have any free, let's say I have 10, actually 9, right? Less than 9 because I cannot use 0, but so I have 8 IP phone. I can add to the network 8 servers, okay? So let's say my first machine is going to lease 192.168.0.100, okay? And the last one is going to be 200. And then the mask is going to be 25. So let's create this scope. Also, the scope is going to ask us the basic configuration because we have DHCP. When you deliver an IP to a machine, it's not only the IP address. We need to set up the network. So let's see what we have here on our network device configuration. So just to give you guys an example. So change adapter settings. If I go to the adapter, so the DHCP server, they do only what they do is they go here and in the Ethernet device and deliver an IP address to the machine. So let's go properties. And he's going to set up the information here or on IPv4 or under IPv6 for each workstation. So let's say, what do I need? I need the IP address, I need the subnet mask, because this is my network, actually is my range, it's class C. I need a default gateway. Also, I'm going to need to set up the DNS. But if you take a look at the advanced settings, we have more. Some of the DHCP servers it is a very good idea not only to set up the router but also the DNS and the WinS server. It's the same address of your Active Directory. In this case, it's going to be 192.168.0.10. So this is our server. So the DNS is going to be in this case, we have this server as the authoritative DNS server. So this is going to be the same address, DNS and the WinS server. Okay, so let's see. Let's start. So we can cancel. We have our plan. So our plan is to set up 100 workstations with IP addresses. And we're going to set up also the DNS and also the WinS server. Okay, and we have to specify the default gateway. Okay, this is going to be the router. And I think that's it. So let's see. So this is our plan. So how can you set up a DHCP scope here? You just need to right click over the configuration you want to set up on the workstation. So I'm going to set up the IPv4 Ethernet device on each one. So right click here. There's an option here, new scope. We're going to add this. We're going to appear a wizard. Okay. So let's see our name. Let's see our plan. The plan is going to be scope 0. So the name is going to be scope 0. So let's put the name scope 0. Okay. Don't need to put any description. Okay, this is the range. So this is going to be the range of our leases. So 192.168.0 is going to be our range. Start IP address is going to be 100. And the end address is going to be 192.168.0 is going to be 200. So you have 100 computers in this case. And the DHCP client, the length, the subnet mask is automatic here now, so class C. If some reason you don't have, let's say it's class B, you can come here and put class B 16, and now you guys know that 24 is going to be class C because it's 24 bits, right? So 8 plus 8 plus 8 is going to be 24. So next. Okay, this is some exclusion. I want to talk a little bit about this exclusion. So what's that for? Some of the IT guys, they prefer, instead of create a plan or a range of IPs, they just put here the range of exclusion for their servers. Let's say in our case, because we have from 0, actually from 1 to 10, it might be something like this, but in this case, my scope is starting from 100. So I don't have any reason to add this exclusion. So the exclusion means if I set up a scope, let's say from 1 to 254, and then from 1 to 10 I don't want to release or lease any IP address. That's the case of the servers, so you don't have to set up this. But let's say in my case he is going to be 0 from 1 to 192.168.0 to 10. But the problem is my range is above this. So there's no reason for me to set up this in my scope, because if you see here, it's from 100 to 200. But let's say I set up my scope from 1 to 200. So then I'm going to need to add this exclusion part. So then I'm going to add from 1 to 10 is going to be set up static instead of leasing IP from the DHCP server. So, but we don't need to do that. It's much better. So in my case, in my opinion, I prefer not to do that. I prefer to set up, okay, I have a plan for my servers, so I'm not going to use these IPs. Why this is important? It sometimes fail. So like by my experience, when you set up this, sometimes the machines, they receive IP address, and the ones you don't need to receive it. So this is not a good idea as well. So I'm going to remove it and go back here from our original plan. So from 100 to 200, and the network is going to be class C. I don't have any exclusions for now. Okay, this is the lease duration. So as an administrator, you have to decide how many days or how many hours do you want this to be in your machine. So let's say when the client requests an IP address from the DHCP server, and let's say for some reason the DHCP server failed, the machine is going to hold this IP for 8 hours. So in this case, this network is kind of a very small network. So there's no reason to lease the IP address only 8 hours. So we can like put here, let's say 2 days, because it's 2 days is enough time for you. Let's say if you have like the DHCP server is not working anymore, you have time to set up a new one. So 2 days is gonna be a good day. So you can put here 48 hours, okay? Not for 8 days, so 2 days instead. Oh, it was 8 days here. That's good. It's good. 8 days is good. We didn't set up anything. I was thinking this was hours. Okay, 8 days is very good. It's a very good time. You can put more. There's no reason. And so every 16 days is gonna be updating. So the machines every 16 days they're gonna request a new uh, release, a new IPv4 address. Okay, you can put more actually because this is a small, very small network. So I do not recommend you for huge networks to use like a very small amount of time during the release. Why? Because if you have a huge network, it's very important to you. This is going to be a huge amount of packages, DHCP requests asking you asking the network about, well, what is my IP address? So please, can you give me IP address? Imagine if you have, let's say, 5,000 workstations asking the same time, requesting the DHCP server for this. So this is going to be, okay, not so good. So put as many days as you want. So I'm going to double for 16 days instead of 8, okay? So next. Yeah, this is a very important part of the DHCP server configuration. I told you about the options. When you lease an IP address, it's not only the IP address and the mask. You saw here previously, I showed you on the Ethernet device, we have WinS server, we have the DNS server, we have the default gateway. So this is going to be leased. So you don't need to go in person on each machine and set up the default gateway and the DNS and the router. So it's a very good idea to set up the options now. So select this. Okay, yes, I want to configure these options now. Okay, so we're gonna add, see, they're gonna ask you the default gateway, as I told you. So we have the default gateway. So let's say, in this case, this is a virtual machine, but most of the networks, the default gateway, okay, the default gateway is going to be router. The router is the first IP. So it's gonna be 192.168.0.1. This is more common, okay? Again, you have to know this. In this case, our fake router is gonna be 0.1. So let's add this. So 192.168.0.1 and add it. Okay. Okay. So next, They're going to ask you also your domain. The domain, again, we have seen so far in our classes we can have multiple domains. So this one we are working with only one domain. So our domain is pbsc.net. So he found it already for us. But what you can do is you can put our server name here just to make sure. So our server name is mydc01, I think. Nope. So let's see which my server name, because I don't remember. ipconfig/all. Yes, pbscdc01 in this case. You guys might have, I remember some of you might have this mydc01. So in this case, it's pbscdc01. And they found that the IP address. I'm going to add this, okay? DNS set is running. Okay, so they validated. I don't know if you guys pay attention to what just happened. They validate our DNS server because we know that's correct. So now everything's fine. So we have the domain name and also the DNS server. And before he added here, it's he did a search before, and the search was validated. And it's also a very good idea to test your DNS server. Put your server name here. For some reason, your DNS is not correctly set up. If you hit resolve, then you're not going to find your IP address. So this is a very red flag that you're supposed to stop right now and fix your DNS configuration. Okay. So if for some reason you type your server name here and resolve, and you didn't find, and you don't find the IP address, this is a red flag. So something's wrong with your DNS. Okay, so you have to do it again. So you hit next. The Win server, the same. Every time I set up a scope, I type my server name here, pbscdc01, and then I resolve. So the resolve means they are using my DNS server to find the IP address. This is a very good idea to do. See, just found it. My IP address, they're gonna add it, and then next. And they're asking me now if I want to activate my scope. Yes, I don't have, in my computer I have only 8 gigas RAM. I'm trying to update it right now, then we can have more machines here, then I can show you how to test the DHCP server. So I can have one more virtual machine, and then I can deliver, then this machine can request actually the IP address from this machine. Okay, but I don't have it right now how to do that. But let's activate anyway. Finished. Okay, so let's take a look. So we have a scope 0. Okay, so we just create an address pool. Okay, so this is our address pool. So our address pool is from 100 to 200. So this is going to be our 100 workstation. So if a workstation inside the network, if they request an IP, the first one is going to receive 100, the second one is going to receive 101, and so on. Okay, and let's say which option is going to be set up on these machines, not only IP and mask, but also if you see here in scope options, you can see that we're going to set up the default router, the default gateway. So this is going to be our default gateway, the DNS server, the domain name from the machine. So remember when you set up the suffix name, so the machines are receiving the suffix name on their configuration when they request a DHCP server. So you don't need, when you set up these machines inside the domain, you don't need to add the suffix name because they already got it. So they have it already when they receive the DHCP acknowledgement. So the DHCP, there's a lot of messages we're going to talk the next class. One is the DHCP request, the DHCP response, the DHCP ACK. So we're going to talk about this DHCP messages. Okay, so the last message is going to be the acknowledgement that contains the IP itself and the options. Okay, and never mind about this. This is the IP. This is kind of standard for Class C. Okay, so let's say policy reservations. This is a very good one. So let's say for some reason one of your workstations, they are not receiving, they're requesting the DHCP for IP, that they are not getting it. So what you can try to do is to set up a reservation for this machine here. So if you know the machine MAC address, so you can set up machine name. Let's say this is going to be my workstation 01. So workstation 01. And the address I'm going to reserve is going to be the first one. Let's say 0100. If I know the MAC address from this machine, for some reason, I'm going to put here, let's say 00, but I don't know, okay? So just put MAC and then you just select here both or just the DHCP, okay? But select both. Why? You might need to reboot this machine using some of your servers inside. So this is going to be the boot P. That means the machine is going to request the DHCP address before they boot, okay? Before the boot. So then when you boot the machine is going to have connection to your network. So some of the networks, most of them actually, they select both because I might need to connect my machines. Let's say in a, we have a Symantec Ghost server to download the images, for example. And then if my machine connect directly to my server using the DHCP, for me is better. Okay, so this is a very good idea to select both. Okay, so this is everything for today. I hope you guys have understand how to create scope. We can create more than one scope, okay? You can create a new one. You can have multiple scopes here. And you can also create, let's say you have IPv6 addresses in your network. You can create a scope for an IPv6 address, okay? So see you guys next class. Thank you.